Good morning. Today I'm going to just be having a fun day in the kitchen and trying some new fresh milled flour recipes that I haven't tried. I love trying new recipes and I've had the goal for a couple years now to just only use fresh milled flour in my home, and I've definitely got down my go-to sandwich bread recipe that's really quick. I can make it within 2 hours max. But there's still a lot of recipes that I haven't tried with fresh milled flour, which is kind of surprising because I've used it for years now, but I still just haven't really gotten outside of my box of few recipes that I love. So today I'm going to, ideally, if I stick to my plan, be making pretzels, blueberry bagels, English muffins. What was the last one I had? Oh, and dinner rolls. We'll have the dinner rolls for dinner tonight. The pretzels I'm thinking about taking with brie cheese to a girls event I have tonight. I want to make some English muffin breakfast sandwiches and keep those in the freezer. And then blueberry bagels, those will probably be gone so fast. But if not, I'll keep them in the freezer and then we'll have some nice yummy things to grab. But okay, that's enough of an introduction. Let's go get started. Okay, big update in my life. Well, first, bump update. I don't know, is it bigger? I feel like it's kind of the same. But then also another update in my life is that I've been able to handle conventional milk, which if you've been here a long time, you know that I was only could have organic milk or raw milk. But I stopped having milk for maybe a month or so, and then just reintroduced milk with only conventional milk, and now I feel like I'm over it. So I think it was just a silly little thing, but we all have silly little things occasionally. Also, my husband was in here, so I just got all of the ingredients ready. My mise en place. We had to do this when I was in culinary school for everything we made, and I was like, maybe I should start doing that for videos. In my mind, it's extra work to do beforehand, but at the same time, when I'm grabbing things and filming, I feel like I'm so slow because my mind is just so jumbled. So I was like, maybe it would be nice. So I think today I'm gonna try doing this for all of the recipes. But anyways, so in here I already mixed milk, water, sugar, and then melted the butter. That's pretty much it. One thing I forgot I have to do, I'm gonna have to mill some corn for cornmeal. So let's do that really quick. If you have a mill, you can just mill straight popcorn kernels to make things cornbread or just whatever you would need cornmeal for. Right now I'm starting with the English muffins, so I just need a little bit of cornmeal for that. So I'm just gonna probably do a couple tablespoons in here. I usually, on my mill, I make it to a rougher setting to mill it, and then I'll mill it again on a finer setting. This recipe is from Grains and Grit. I like a lot of her recipes. I think she's where I get my main sandwich loaf recipe. And then I also love Fresh Milled Mama. Those are my two favorite blogs for fresh milled recipes. One thing I like about Grains and Grit is I feel like she appreciates kamut as much as I do. So this recipe, she used kamut for the recipe and, talks about alternatives you can use. But I love recipes that are made specifically with kamut in mind because kamut's my favorite grain. The recipe says to let the instant yeast get foamy in the milk and stuff. I feel like you don't have to do that with instant yeast. You can just add it straight to the flour, so that's usually what I just do. But who knows, maybe if these don't turn out, then we'll point back to that and that will be the reason. So I'm going to add flour and salt to my mixer. And then because I did the yeast different, I'm gonna go ahead and add the yeast to my dry ingredients. So 2 1/4 teaspoons of instant yeast. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add my melted butter and egg into my milk, water, and sugar. Hello there. Now I am slowly pouring in the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients and mixing it until it reaches window pane. Let me quickly explain that we have some family over and I just decided to switch to voiceover during this time just to make it easier on all of us. So once that dough reached window pane, I just put it in a greased bowl, set the bowl aside and covered it, and then now I'm getting started on the blueberry bagels. First, for the blueberry bagels, the instructions say to put the frozen blueberries in a pan until the juices naturally release. So I did that for just a few minutes. Now in my stand mixer, I'm adding the water, yeast, maple syrup, flour, the blueberries, olive oil, salt, and vanilla. The recipe also calls for lemon zest and dried wild blueberries. I did not have those things and I thought it would do fine without it. Spoiler alert, I felt like they didn't have a super strong blueberry taste, and maybe it's because I left out the dried blueberries. So maybe I'll try this recipe again with them. But for now, it was still delicious. Once the dough was fully mixed together, I added in my blueberries, added in the last bit of flour. I just didn't want to add it all at once in case somehow it was too much or something. And then I kneaded it for maybe 12 or so minutes. It was a really fun dough to work with just because it was like bright purple, so that was fun. Then after it passed the window pane test, I just put it into a greased bowl, covered it, and set it aside with my other dough. Now we're getting into the soft pretzels. I will say, since I've made this, I've made them again, and this is my favorite from the day. First, I just combined the warm milk, yeast, and brown sugar. Then I added the oil and salt, and then I added the flour and let it knead for about 8 or so minutes until we achieved window pane, making sure to scrape down the sides of the bowl once or twice as it's mixing. So now is where the multitasking comes into play. I'm grabbing the dough for the English muffins, and I'm just gonna go ahead and cut those out because they will need to proof on a baking sheet for about 30 minutes before we cook them. So I'm just using a round cookie cutter that I have to cut out circle shapes. And then I'm also dusting generously the parchment paper with the cornmeal that we milled earlier. And then I'm aiming for about 12 English muffins in total. Now I'm lightly covering those with plastic wrap. By the way, let me know if you have any alternatives because I hate how much plastic wrap I had to use today. And now I'm going back to the pretzel dough. So it's been kneading this whole time. It's reached window pane. So I took it out, put it in a greased bowl, and then I covered it and I set it aside with my other dough. Okay, now we are getting started on our fourth recipe, which is the Kamut dinner rolls. So I didn't realize until I was in the process of making this that this is actually just my sandwich bread recipe made into dinner rolls. So as I was going, I was like, oh, this is everything I do for sandwich bread. Except the one difference I have made is I do half kamut and half hard white wheat right now. So I'm curious to try that with the dinner rolls as well next time. But they turned out delicious. So I just put all of the ingredients in the bowl, started the mixer, and then I headed over to my stovetop to cook the English muffins. The English muffins have proved beautifully. I already preheated the pan as well, and it says low heat, and it really means it because I did it on 4 and the first ones got a little darker. So then the rest I think I did on 3, which I don't think I ever cook on that low of a heat. But you just dust the pan with cornmeal, and then you lay your English muffins on, cover them with a lid to make sure they cook, and then I actually just set the timer on my stove for 5 minutes, flipped them, put the lid back on, and then set it for another 5 minutes. That's what the instructions say to do, and it turned out perfectly every time. And then, once again, I'm multitasking. So I went back to the dinner roll dough, pulled it out, and then I divided them into 30 dinner rolls. while simultaneously finishing the English muffins. I like to barely imprint lines on the dough before cutting it just to make sure they all look even. Sometimes I will actually weigh them to make sure they're all equal weights, but I usually only do that if I'm hosting other people or bringing them to a fancy church dinner or something. But for our family, if they're a little bit off, it's fine. I also just assumed that this recipe made a dozen rolls, and I think that Grains and Grit must have a large family because it's 2.5 dozen rolls, which was honestly so great because we had some for dinner that night, and then my kids just kind of pulled them out of the freezer as a snack throughout the next couple days, and it was honestly really nice to have. There was even some mornings where I had it with a breakfast sausage and just a dinner roll. I don't know, is that weird? It was honestly so good, so no, it's not weird. Now we are jumping back into the blueberry bagels. Once again, the dough just looks so fun. I just love it. So this recipe says to divide them into 12 bagels. So I just divided it into 12 pieces, and then I rolled each piece into a ball, and then let it sit for a little bit. And then I know there's multiple ways to shape bagels. I just find this to be the easiest. I just stick my thumbs in the center of the ball and then kind of stretch a hole open. And you do want to stretch it more than you would think, because when they proof, they get all big and puffy and then there's no hole at all, which I mean, even if you stretch it a lot, there's just still no hole at all, which is fine. You can tell they're homemade. So I just did that to all 12 pieces, and then I lightly covered it with just plastic wrap that I had, I think from the dinner rolls. I tried to reuse it as much as I could, and then I let those sit for at least 20 minutes. While those were proofing, I went over to my dinner rolls and I did a light egg wash on them, and then I put those in the oven to bake. Then this is the first lull I hit where there was really no work to do because things were proofing and baking, so I took a little break here. And then I came back, got the water boiling for the bagels, and then I brushed all of the dinner rolls with butter as they came out of the oven. I always just use the straight stick of butter. I just find it to be the easiest thing. I feel like it makes the most sense. But yeah, so the dinner rolls are now finished. Now to finish the bagels, I already got the water boiling and I added a little bit of maple syrup to the pot. And then I just threw 3 in at a time, cooked them 1 minute on one side, and then flipped it and cooked it another minute. And then I just pulled them out and put them onto a parchment-lined baking sheet. Then I immediately put them in the oven for about 23 minutes at 425. Okay guys, we have 3 out of 4 recipes finished. I finished the dinner rolls, the English muffins, the blueberry bagels are in the oven right now, so basically finished. And then I just need to do the pretzels really quick. I just need to shape them, let them proof for a little bit, and then boil them and bake them. So almost done. I feel like this has all been going very smoothly, and I think a lot of it is just when one of the recipes is kneading, then I'll just get all the ingredients ready for the next recipe, and I'm having a lot of fun. This is definitely what I enjoy. It's just trying new recipes. Maybe this is just me, but I feel like sometimes when you're in just mom mode and just trying to take care of everyone, it just makes sense to use the recipes that you already have in your arsenal. So I'm excited to add some more. I'm also inspired, and I'm I have Sue Becker's fresh milled cookbook. I'm maybe I should just do a series where I go through her whole cookbook. Maybe. I will say with me and fresh milled grains, I am very I don't want to get 8 different grains. I kind of just want to work with the 3 or 4 that I have. So that's what turns me off to some of those recipes. Anyways, I'm babbling. I'm gonna start getting the pretzels ready, and then I'm finished. Okay, last dough is our soft pretzels. I also like had to switch to voiceover because we had family over. I'm trying to follow everything to a T since it's new recipes. But one difference I am gonna make is this water has maple syrup in it for the bagels. But the pretzels call for baking soda. So I'm just gonna add the baking soda to the maple syrup water and hope that there's not some like chemical reaction I don't know of with maple syrup and baking soda. I think it'll be fine. Okay, the recipe says to divide the pretzels into 10 pieces. I was thinking about making like mini ones or like little pretzel bites for the event I'm going to tonight. But I'll just do regular pretzels because I still think they're gonna be like on the smaller side. Okay, I feel like I've forgotten how to shape pretzels. I'll look it up really quick. Okay, I just practiced shaping a pretzel off camera. I don't think I've made pretzels since my last pregnancy because it was like a random pregnancy craving I had, so I made pretzels a couple times last pregnancy, but I don't think I've made them since. So I was like, I forget how to shape these. Okay, I don't know if this is my best work, but I'll show you how I do it. So remember, I'm not a professional on this. I never claimed to be a professional on anything except maybe encouraging people to sleep. I think I'm a pro sleep encourager. Other than that though, not really professional on anything. Okay, anyways. So you just roll it into a very long log. Oh no, it's breaking. Stay together. I think I cheated. Okay, then you put it into like a U. Then twist it, and then go like that. You know, it's kind of fun when they're all like kind of different shapes, right? They're all upside down. This one's not though. So yeah, they'll probably be like mini little pretzels compared to my hand. And of course they're gonna puff up a lot once they cook and proof. My water and the oven are ready to go. So just waiting on me to do this. So I was gonna serve this with brie cheese. I have like a big wheel of brie cheese and I love brie cheese. I'm supposed to let these sit for 10 minutes before I boil and bake them. Time to boil and bake the pretzels. Ah, I'm so excited. I love soft pretzels. Oh wait, you put salt on after you boil, right? Yeah, I think that's right. So cute. They're going in the oven. They look so good. I'm so excited. Time to pull them out. They look so good. I love a salty pretzel too, so that's why I did like a ton of salt. Guys, I'm so excited. I feel like everything turned out great. All recipes went smoothly, no hiccups or anything. But you know, it's one thing for it to like go to plan, but another thing is like how it actually tastes. So I'm gonna do a quick little taste test for you. My camera ran out of memory, so I switched to my iPhone really quick, so I hope the audio and everything is fine. Inside of the English muffins, they look great. I'm really excited. English muffin, delicious. Highly recommend the recipe. It's funny like rating like plain foods because it's like, yeah, it tastes like an English muffin, but like they're really the best when they have like a full sandwich on them. Oh, this is the dinner roll now, the Kamut dinner roll. Okay, dinner roll, very delicious. Highly recommend, will be my new go-to dinner roll. Same for the English muffins. I'm really excited for the pretzels, so I'm gonna save those last and then do the blueberry muffins. Blueberry bagels. One thing I will say about the bagels is I feel like they're a little like flatter than most bagels I have, but I don't know if that's a me issue or the recipe. I don't know. Also, the recipe called for dried blueberries, which I did not have and could not find at the store, so I just didn't do that. Also, the recipe said to bake it 23 to 25 minutes to get it golden, and I did it for 23 without looking, and when I pulled it out, I thought it looked a little darker than it should be. Maybe not though. I mean, maybe there's like some parts, like right there looks a little darker than it should be, I would guess, but overall still looks great. Like, I don't think they're burnt by any means. With those, I would say they're good, but not like a strong blueberry flavor. And that's probably because I didn't have the freeze-dried blueberries. I would assume that's like on me for not having that part. So I do kind of want to try them again with the freeze-dried blueberries to see if that makes a difference, but still good overall. Now the pretzels. I'm gonna get this little cutie. These are so good. 10 out of 10. I love them. They're just like your normal salted pretzel with like, you know, a little bit more of that like fresh milled weedy taste, which I enjoy. So yeah, definitely try that recipe. Okay, well, that's the end of today's video. Thank you for joining me as I just like baked in the kitchen all morning and tried out new fresh milled recipes. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I post videos every Tuesday. I'm gonna go finish this. Bye.